Hello, hello. So, here's what I'm thinking. In light of the current temperature, if you will, of the United States right now, political and all this stuff, I thought, you know what? Maybe I will publish a video explaining my definitions of certain things. All right? So I wrote down some definitions that they all have a definition as to in the dictionary what they are, but I'm going to add a little bit of realism, maybe the way I was raised or whatever, right? Because I'm not judgmental. I'm going to get that right out. That's my caveat. I'm not judgmental on anybody. Anybody wants to feel the way they want, this is excluding feelings. This is just a total point of view. All right? So, I don't know, on my shirt I got a dirty stain. All right, here's the deal. So the first thing is love. Yeah, I've talked about it before. Love has different meanings. I love French fries. I love to go on hikes. I love sunny days. I love rainy days. I love dogs. And oh, she makes my heart pitter patter like a doggy in tall grass. Everybody has a different definition of love. Just because you link up with somebody that you share this romantic feelings and everything, when it comes down to the core definition, I guarantee you guys have different definitions of love. It's just what you're able to overlook later in life when the newness wears off, the libido slows down, and both of you start getting stretch marks. That's what it is. So if you rank sex as number one, then I challenge you to keep having sex the same way you did when you first met, all the way up until you're married 60, 70, 80 years later. And by the way, I hate to bring this up, but people have sex with a bunch of people they don't even love. Some of them don't even like each other, and they have sex. They have consensual sex between two consenting adults. It's not love. It's the big O. That's what they're seeking. That big O, that big touch. All right. So, love, definition. My definition of love, that's a whole video thing all in self. Bottom line is there's a book written, The 5 Love Languages. I'm not going to tell you what mine is, but when you start telling people about what I think love is, then they'll say, well, that's ridiculous. And so no one respects your definition of love. All right, no, a biological male human being, a man. He has a dick and balls. That's a man. He has testosterone, all this stuff. His pelvis is a little bit smaller than a female because he doesn't facilitate birth, all that stuff. Now, the way I was growing up, you could be a man, but there's a difference between father and daddy. Now, I'm talking about daddy, not the pimp daddy. I'm talking about daddy as in your little baby kid running up to you and go, oh, daddy's home. You know, that's the dad I'm talking about. Because any man with that produces sperm can be a father. But not all those fathers become dads. Now, definition, maybe, maybe not. Man. I grew up a man, biological male, dick and balls, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, to be a true man, you must accept and honor your responsibilities. You must go through life and say, I don't necessarily want to do this job, but I'm going to do it because I have to, because I have responsibilities. I am taking care of these people. I am going to, i.e. kids, wives, etc., and I am going to push forward. So where I come from, if somebody says, yeah, you ain't a real man, those are fighting words. Those are definitely fighting words. So now I guess it's a badge of honor. Well, you're not a real man. That's it. No, those were fighting words back in the day. That means a whole bunch of things. You're not a real man. Where I come from in the country, you can't ride a horse. You ain't a real man. You can't drive a car with a clutch. You ain't a real man. You can't ride a horse. Did I say that? Yeah, I did. If you don't hunt, you ain't a real man, you know. You can't build a table out of wood, you ain't a real man. You can't change the oil or change a tire or do a tune-up, you ain't a real man. And those were all fighting words. Oh, man, you can't do that. Man, you ain't a real man. And then I was like, oh yeah, well, let me show you what a real man is. And then, of course, dukes start flying and stuff. But man, real man, that definition, right? Right? All right. So a woman, biological female, one with ovaries, uterus, or has the ability or perceived ability to have children, a female adult. Now, yes, not all females are born with the capabilities of having kids, yet they have the components to do it in some manner. And not every man is born with the capabilities of having kids. I'm not talking about how you feel for that day. Because men know that when they wake up sometime, they go, God dang, man, I'm feeling like a bitch today. That's what we do. We feel like crap. Oh, yeah, I was crying like a little weenie. Crying like a little girl. I was crying like a little girl. That means that, our emotions got over us. Now, that may offend you, but that's fact. That's truth. That's the way we are, right? So, a woman... Now, the weird thing about a man, so you got a man, biological man, and a real man, he could change a tire. So you got a woman, and you got a real woman? It doesn't take the same emphasis, Not the same emphasis. You're either a woman or you're not. That's it. So if you're a real woman, what does that consist of? There's all kinds of definitions of that. I don't buy into the old 1940s, 50s nuclear family where the woman was barefoot and pregnant in the house, cooking up the fries, holding a baby, pregnant with another one, and making dinner for everybody. I've seen that before. I kind of grew up with some of that stuff, but in reality, I don't say that is the perfect home. I don't know what the perfect home is, but to be a real woman, I'm not sure what that is. So anyway, maybe a real woman pleases her man? Nah, that's not right, because that would imply that a real man pleases his woman, and let's face it, there ain't one of us on this earth that can really 100% of the time please a woman. We just can't do it. We can add temporary contentment to them at times, but we can't please them. There's no way. I challenge you to prove me wrong on that. All right, work. What do you call it? Work. Homework, sitting there. Where I come from, work meant you sweated, you sweat, you were in the labor. At the end of the day, you just want to crash out and go to sleep. Sometimes you're too tired to take a shower. Sometimes you didn't even take a shower. Work. But homework was kind of weird because it created that same stress but brain housing group. And then some people said, oh yeah, like when I was on a SWAT team, they would say, okay, when you go into a room and you clear it, don't just stand there and wait for somebody to tell you what to do. They kept saying, go look for work. And so you need to go find another hole to clear or another corner to clear or something. But you always work. So somebody will say oil rigs, that's true work there. And then somebody will say, oh, being a teacher, that's real work. And some would say, well, business owner, that's real work. There are a lot of things. I think in personality, and maybe I'm making all kinds of red flags, a real work for most men, and I'm talking blue collar men, is trying to keep their head above water. That in itself is true work. But work can cause sweat, or it can cause fatigue. It can be happy, it can be sad. But the truth is, through life, you're going to work. If you're not working, you need to pull your head out your ass and get busy. But as you work, you need to enjoy and be happy with the journey. Find joy in the journey, because it's not going to go anywhere. You're going to have to work every day. Battle. What's a battle? We battle everything. Me in the Marine Corps, different type of battle. We battle everything as a human race. We battle addiction. We battle, oppression. We battle this. We battle that. Battle just simply means fight. If we go into the Battle of Chapultepec, well, we know that was a fisticuffs, boom, boom, boom battle. If we go, yeah, man, that guy's really battling his addictions. Well, that's an internal battle. This guy's really battling with his faith. That's between you and God. And that's it. So battle has different meanings too. It has a meaning, but it has different meanings. Now, here's the cool. Now, a veteran. What's a veteran? A veteran is somebody who served in the military. Now, within the military, we may say, oh no, a veteran is somebody who was honorably discharged or general under honorable conditions. If you got an OTH, other than honorable discharge, or bad conduct discharge, or dishonorable discharge, you are not a veteran. I don't get that nitty gritty with it. You served, you're a veteran. Here's one thing that really pissed me off when I was in the Marine Corps, and you get around certain areas, not so much in the infantry, but in other bases. They have a bunch of civilian employees, and these civilians have ranking, but it's more of a pay grade. They're GS or PS or AS and all this stuff, and it has to do, well, they'll say, well, a GS-10 is the equivalent of a general. No, it's not. It's a pay grade in the civilian component of the DOD. And so these guys actually, because commanding officers were in charge of them, I remember a phrase that was coined towards the end of my career. They started calling them civilian Marines. Bullshit! They're not civilian Marines. There ain't no such thing as civilian Marines. You're a Marine or you're not. Period. There is no gray area. You're a Marine or you're not. Did you don and clear and go to boot camp, earn the title, and go forth, whether you spent 2 years, 1 year, 15 months, or whatever, 4 years enlistment or a career? Is that what you did? You wore the Marine Corps uniform with the rank, stay promotable, blah, blah, blah. You were a Marine. There's no such thing as civilian Marines. Don't come to me and tell me, oh, I'm a civilian Marine. No, you're not. There's no such thing. Marines, either you're military, that's me. You serve time, you're a vet. You're a veteran. You serve time, you're a veteran. Be proud of that. If you are a GS employee and never spent day one as a Marine or military for that matter, be proud of who you are. No, I'm a civilian employee. Okay, that's cool. That's cool too. Ain't nobody gonna say, but be proud of who you are. Okay, here we go. This is what I like. Redneck, country boys, cowboys, and farmers. Now, those of you living in the city think they're all one thing, but they're not. A redneck comes from the term red on your neck, which is a sunburn on your neck because you're working outside or you're spending a lot of time outside in either wife beater shirts or a t-shirt where the sun's constantly hitting your neck, and when you take the shirt off, you got what we call farmer's tan. You got from here up tan and from here down tan. You look like you're still wearing a t-shirt when you take the t-shirt off. That's where we got the term redneck. Redneck, it's just a sunburned neck. Well, how do you get a sunburned neck? Well, most country boys spend the time out in the field. Doesn't matter who you are, or out in the woods. It doesn't matter who you are. So now it's a personality. So a redneck to me would be some good old boy who drinks. He may chew. Most rednecks I know chew tobacco. They smoke. Those guys that in hunting camps, they sit down and they drink their whiskey and smoke their cigars. I never went into that. But I went to hunting camps and stuff. But what's a redneck? A redneck does a lot of things. A redneck can actually fish. He can hunt. But usually out of all those I talked about, the redneck is a shit talker. That guy always talks shit. A redneck. All right. And you can fall under multiple categories on this. So a country boy. What's a country boy? That's just some old good old boy that lives out in the country, don't like a lot of population around him, likes the people that surround him to be thin and sparsely populated. He has neighbors, he knows where they're at, he knows who they are, and he knows who he can count on. He's a country boy. He goes out into the city, out into the town, on the mountains, or in the countryside, and that's where he finds his zen, his happiness. That's where he finds contentment. Country boys are usually polite. They're not usually shit talkers, but they do drive four-wheel drive pickups with an American flag hanging out. right? Just like a redneck does. So it's kind of hard to find a country boy. Are you a country boy or are you redneck? Well, maybe there's a little bit of both in there. But a country boy is usually, yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. Let me fix that, sir. Those are the guys that actually spend their time out in the country. They understand the quality of human beings and they like human beings, but they like to have this little contact as human. Country boys don't survive in cities very well, or even populated towns. Country boys are just simply that. Now, I say country boys, country girls, same thing. And you can be a redneck girl too, by the way. But when I'm using these terms, I'm doing both country boy, country girl. All right? That's the same thing. Now, again, this is my opinion. So country boy, a cowboy. Now, a cowboy works on a ranch, period. Cowboy. That was those guys that punch cattle and they got the herds, and back in the day when they would migrate from pasture land to pasture land, they used public lands to do that. They still do that in Idaho. These are cowboys. These are the cowboys that get together. And then when the cows were all done and everything and they got together, then they would have contests, which is where we get rodeos. That's the cowboys out there. Those aren't rednecks. Well, they could be a little bit of redneck, but they're mostly country boys and cowboys. But cowboys is the demographics that run in rodeos. And those guys are some hard-headed people. And I'm not hard-headed and you can't convince them, but I'm saying they're hard-headed in that they can take an ass whooping and move on. They ride bulls, they ride horses, they jump on a horse and take off. And what I felt was a real cowboy is that guy can get on a bareback horse. And those of you that's ever ridden horses know, it's one thing to ride on a horse in a saddle, put your heels down, and then get going. And it's another thing to crawl on that big old horse without saddle and be able to run. And that was very, very interesting. But cowboys usually have this connection with animals. Now, some of them are pretty rough. Some of them are pretty rough with their animals, but the country boys I've always idolized are those guys that will walk out in the pasture and their horse will come running to them, and they can jump on the horse with no saddle, bridle, halter, or anything, and they can actually ride the horse by just pulling a handful of hair on the neck of the horse and just kind of moving it around. Those were the ones I idolized. And that includes cowgirls, same thing. All right. So, and then the last thing is farmers. What are farmers? Well, that's the salt of the earth. Those are the people that are out there farming. Those are the guys that are sod busters. Those are the guys and gals that go out there with the tractors and turn the ground over and seed and care for those plants and move them up. Those are the guys, and a lot of them, yes, they have farmer stands. They wear t-shirts and they're hot, and those are some of the hardest working people in this United States. Those farmers, they're out there with those tractors. They're out there in the daylight and the sunlight. I remember back in the day when I would work on farms every once in a while, one of the greatest inventions that we ever thought happened was when they put stereos and air conditioning inside the cabs of those tractors, those combines. Because that way you could get up there and sit in that combine and you could be in there all day long listening to your stereo and doing your little thing and air condition. Yeah, before that, it sucked. I'm telling you right now. It got pretty hot. But those are farm boys. Now, I hope you know you could be a little bit of one or the other. Had a friend who's from China. She was a doctor. She called herself a Chinese redneck. She has yet to explain to me what that means. When I explained to her what redneck was, she goes, maybe I need to rethink that. Because she didn't know. And she's a hoity-toity, rich, surgeon, smart, doctor stuff, right? So it's not like she's one of these rednecks. She doesn't drive a four-wheel drive. She drives a Mercedes or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, my definitions, let me know what you think.